Breakfast. I broke down and I bought 2 of these heavy duty buckets the other day, and it just killed me because these cost about $17 each. Let's just say it's $20 by the time you pay tax and everything. Seems ridiculous to pay that much for a plastic bucket when you can get these other 5-gallon buckets for like $5 or $6. The problem is that these thin 5-gallon buckets don't last. I don't think I even get a year out of these anymore. And I remember when I was a kid, we used to use 5-gallon buckets like this as dirt bike stands. You know, that they seem like they were a lot stronger in those days, but now the plastic is just paper thin and it doesn't take them long to start cracking and breaking. I guess that's what you call progress. So I guess that's where we're at now. We're spending $20 on plastic buckets.
You guys are hungry.
I'll be eating my camera. The small group of pigs have graduated up to a fermented wheat only diet, which means no more soybean meal for these guys. They are past that point, and they're also starting to outgrow this feeder. So once I get my corral fence project done and a couple other things that have been pressing, the plan is to make these guys a new, larger feeder that can better accommodate them, which will also require a little cement slab out here. So, you know, the work just keeps coming. Looks like you guys got water, and I know you got food. The turkeys are getting big. I don't actually know how long it's supposed to take to grow one of these out. I guess you kind of just butcher it whenever you want to. I mean, after a certain point. But I think we're pretty well on track to have one decent size by Thanksgiving. And how's everybody doing out here? Looks like somebody pooped in the water. You're getting busy trying to eat some eggs, huh? That ain't cool.
Thanks.
We ought to still get plenty more eggs today, but I did notice that that hen was kind of reaching in like she wanted to peck at the eggs, so that's why I grabbed them out of there, but I think we'll probably still get another 10. When you ferment grain, you want to keep the water level above the grain. If the grain's exposed to air, then it can start to mold and spoil and all that stuff you don't want. There's a little bit of an art to this though, because as the grain absorbs that water and soaks it up, it swells, especially true with wheat, and I think corn is bad about this as well. So if you start with a half bucket of wheat, sometimes it'll be overflowing out of the bucket by the time that ferment is complete. You could see these buckets that I just filled up were fairly low, but these buckets that have been sitting for about 3 days are almost over the brim. After a while, you kind of figure this out and you'll know how full to get the bucket before you soak it. You guys are making a lot of dust, you know that? I think we need to turn the sprinkler on. We'll let this go for a couple of hours. These pigs make dust really bad, and it's not really good for them, and it's not good for me either. What I notice is when this pen gets all powdery dirt like this, I start getting a lot of dust in the shop, which I don't like. And also, if they are breathing this dust in a lot and they start coughing, then they're at risk of prolapsing, which you really don't want. I've got to run up to the steer pasture and move those steers, and I think by the time we get back, it'll be just about perfect. I can shut this sprinkler off, and they'll have a pretty good soak here where they won't be making all kinds of dust like they've been doing. Once we get done with that, I know I've got to move cows at the ranch, and then we'll just have to see what time it is. I would like to work on the corral fence a little bit today, but you know, if I don't really have enough time to get down there and get set up, then that's not really gonna work. So we'll find something else to do. That's what's going on today on Farmer Tyler Ranch. Come on, boys! Come on, boys! I can see them down there in their shade tree. I don't know if they're gonna come this time. Come on, boys! They're definitely looking. Well, I guess last week was a fluke. Looks like I got a little geyser out there I'm gonna have to fix. Come on, boys, let's go. Come on. Let's go, you know the drill. Let's go. Come on, boys. Come on, boys. Come on, boys. Go on. There you go. I guess that's just how this group is gonna be. All right, a couple sprinklers to fix and we can be on our way. All right, where's the sprinkler head? Oh, right there. That wasn't too bad. Sometimes I end up spending 5 or 10 minutes looking for these darn things, but this one was pretty easy to find. Good enough. There's one. This is the cursed sprinkler. I think I fix this one like 2 to 3 times a year. I don't know why. They seem to like to rub on this one, but they sure do. All right, well, till the next time, right? Looks like I've got one that's plugged up in the next line that I started while I was fixing this one. So we'll unplug it and then we'll head back to the ranch. One more thing, I'm standing right here with a shovel in my hand. I can't walk by this. When you're chopping these thistles with a shovel, you want to get at least 4 inches of that taproot and then it won't grow back. I'd say we got that and then some. All right, it looks like the perfect amount of water, huh guys? Well, that'll really cut down on the dust here in their pen, but I'm always kind of cautious when I do this because when you make the ground wet, you're really just encouraging them to root and dig it up. And you can see over here what's happened in the past is they start kind of rooting right by the fence. There's like 2 places where they really like to root, and it's all along the fence or all along the slab where the water nipple is. Those are the 2 places that you really don't want them to do it. As long as the ground isn't like overly soaked, then it's not as bad, so hopefully we're gonna be all right. Got my air compressor and my welder all fueled up now, so we won't have any unexpected roadblocks like we did last time we worked on the fence. But before we get started, we gotta move these cows because they won't forgive me if I don't do it. Always nice to watch them go onto fresh grass. You guys better hurry. You're gonna miss all the good stuff. I've been watching the comments on these last couple videos about building the fence, and I figured I would address some of the questions that I've been seeing pop up quite a bit. 2 of the questions are kind of related to each other, and that is, am I going to cap these posts, and am I cleaning up all of the little bits of metal that I'm cutting off of these pipes while I notch them? The answer to both is yes. I do plan to cap the posts when I'm done, and I am cleaning up the little pieces that I'm cutting off of the pipe. But what I am doing with those little pieces is taking them and dropping them inside these posts. That's a good way to get rid of them where a cow will never be able to have access to them, and then I don't have to constantly be putting big chunks of metal in my garbage. So I wait to cap the posts until I am all done, and that's why. Another question that I saw pop up quite often was about the bottom rail here, asking why it's so low to the ground. And yeah, for full-grown cattle, you wouldn't need a rail here. This is more for calves, because without this rail here, we'd have a pretty big gap. And especially like a newborn calf, if it laid down right next to the fence, as they often do, it would be really easy for them to get onto the other side and not even realize it. Secondly, you have to remember this fence not only serves as the funnel to get cattle into the working corral, but this is also the barrier between the cows and the calves at weaning. So like when we wean the calves or pull the calves off of their mothers, the mothers will be allowed access to the side that I am on, and the calves will be in this little pasture here. Well, for the first 2 or 3 days, they all just spend most of their time right here at this fence, bawling at each other. So you need a strong fence here, because if there is any sort of a weakness, they will find it. And it wouldn't surprise me if some of the smaller calves would find a way to duck themselves underneath this fence if that bottom pipe wasn't there. Last question I saw come up several times was, do I plan on painting this fence? And honestly, no. I'm not opposed to it, and I might do it. Right now, the main focus is just get it done, and then we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get to it. I know it would look better painted, it would last longer painted, and honestly, the looks I'm not really too worried about, but the fact that it would last longer is kind of enough motivation for me to think that I want to do it. So the answer to that one is, we'll see. I have learned that when I pre-cut these pieces to where they would fit on my trailer, that these guys are just like a couple inches too short to make the 10-foot span. Fortunately, these posts on the end are like an 8.5-foot span, so that's why I'm saving these for when I get down there. But for now, I got to cut these longer sticks in half so that they can fit over here where I'm working. Well, we're moving right along here. Still got plenty to do, but it's starting to look like something now. A couple people asked me, why do I bother notching this pipe out? Why not just smash the ends so then it butts straight up to the post and you can weld it? It'd be a lot simpler that way. At least it sounds like it would be on the surface. There's a couple reasons I don't do that. For one, smashing the pipe and getting those smashes clocked correctly would be pretty difficult. I suppose a guy could cut the pipe, weld the top, weld the bottom, then come in here with a sledgehammer, beat the tar out of it to close that gap and weld the side. I don't know, to me that doesn't sound all that much easier. You still got gaps to mess with, fill in the pipe, and not to mention the fact that I have seen this happen, not every single time, but when you smash the ends of this pipe, sometimes the weld seam in the pipe cracks, so obviously we don't want that either. Basically, I don't really buy that I would save all that much time doing it, and in my opinion, it's significantly weaker. When you notch the pipe to fit into the other pipe, the notch itself provides strength. I mean, honestly, I could really just tack these on the top and the bottom and that would be good enough, because the way the notch mates around this pipe, it's not gonna go anywhere. If a cow or something pushes on that, that's metal pushing on metal. You're not completely relying only on the weld to hold the pipe up. Another question that I saw that I do wanna talk about, because this is a question that I asked myself, and that is, why not buy square posts? Because then you wouldn't have to cut notches. This would go up so much faster, and that is 100% true. The reason that I didn't go that route on this fence is because square tubing is significantly more expensive than this used oil pipe. I've been able to use square tubing in the past because I found a pile of used square tubing that I got for a good deal, but I have since used all that stuff up. So until I can find another score like that, I've just got to use the oil pipe for the posts. For example, a stick of the 2 7/8 oil pipe, I think I paid 95 or 105. Let's just call it 100 for the sake of discussion, and I can get 4 posts out of that, so each post cost me $25. The last time I priced out 3-inch square tubing, I want to say was around 120 for a 20-foot stick, which I could get 2.5 posts out of. So that means that each post costs roughly $48. Also bear in mind that the last time I priced out square tubing was over a year ago, so I can almost guarantee it's more expensive now than it was then. So easily 50 bucks a post if you go with square tubing. This stuff's half the price. But the fence would go up a lot faster, so you kind of get in that argument of time versus money. Time is money, but you know, money is money too, so I don't know. The more notches that I cut, the faster I'm getting at it. I'm actually noticing a difference now when I'm cutting the notch out. I'm having to do very little grinding now because I'm kind of learning how I need to cut it so that the plasma cutter is doing all the work and the grinder really isn't doing that much anymore. And I don't even have half of the pipe up yet, so I have to assume I'll get even a little bit better by the time this is done. And being able to cut and notch that tube freehand the way that I'm doing, I think that's a skill that will come in handy in the future, because I've still got more stuff to do back here. The goal is to eventually get everything replaced in pipe, and it's actually feeling like that's gonna happen now. I remember when I first started doing this, or first kind of set that goal, it was so many years out before we would even be close to finishing it that it just felt like it would never happen. But as I'm looking around now, we're getting close. We've got more done in pipe now than what's not done in pipe, so that's pretty cool. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.